Tracy Willie checking in check. I don't know what going on. Welcome back to another video on Tracy Willie Pure Abundance. If this is your first time tuning into one of these videos, we encourage, inspire, and uplift each other to keep evolving into our greatest selves. If you are a returning viewer, you already know what time it is. Let's get it. I got this on my mind right now, so I'm going to say it. A lot of people watching this video, some of y'all are new people. Y'all ain't never met me before. And to the people who met me before and who actually got to experience me in the flesh, I would say y'all know I'm a very calm and private person, right? So to my new people, I'm sharing that because that's how I know I'm in my purpose. Because me stepping out of my comfort zone to share my story, because my story is not going to be super duper different from yours. My story is my story. Your story is your story. We all have our individual stories. I get that. But a lot of us can relate to the same story, right? A lot of us came up in rough upbringings. A lot of us probably live in America or moved to America or moved to a place you've never been to before. A lot of us went to school. Everybody got a school experience, whether you homeschool or whether it's public school. Most people went to public schools. Some of y'all are in your 20s, early 20s, late 20s. And then some of y'all, well, we're all where we at today, right? So I'm going to sum it up by saying where I'm at today. And as you can see, the title of this video is From Overthinking to Overcoming. And I'm going to share my story. This whole side here is pretty much how I was overthinking. A lot of this has to do with overthinking. And then this side right here is more so overcoming. This is where I started stepping into my, I don't even want to say myself because I'm still learning and growing, but this is where I started overcoming. Leave it right there. So the first thing I want to talk about is where I'm from. I'm from St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Frederickstead to be exact. Williams Delight to be exact. I live in Williams Delight. I live in Shabbat before. I can't really remember Paradise, but my mother told me that, she used to live in Paradise. So I grew up in Paradise. I could barely remember because I was so young, but my most fresh memories is from Williams Delight, the smile greenhouse that we used to live in. And then the other house we used to live in, it was a bigger house than the first one. It was a 3-bedroom, but it was a lot more spacious. My sisters, they were growing up, in the first house. Yeah, it was interesting, but I grew up in Williams Delight. Some people will call that the hood. In St. Croix, we would call it the ghetto, or we didn't even call it anything because we grew up in there and then we didn't even know it was called something. But when I moved to America, that's when I heard about people calling, it used to be a pub, housing. That's what we used to call it too, housing, public housing and check. But when I moved to America, I heard that people in America used to call what we used to label housing or the ghetto as the hood. So some people will call it the hood in America, same thing, projects, whatever you want to call it. Projects is another one we used to call it to the projects. Yeah, so I from the slums of the slums, the trenches. So I say where I'm from because most of us are from there. And y'all might see me making videos like this and speaking how I speak, putting y'all up on game about the things I put y'all on and not thinking that I'm from there. So y'all need to know I'm from there, okay? Rough upbringings, traumatic experiences, you gunshots all throughout the days, no fireworks on New Year's, just straight gunshots on New Year's. You name it, police sirens every day, slinging the Zaza, you know what I'm saying? Like everything at a young age, exposed to a lot at a young age, like witnessing shootouts with my bare eyes, like you name it. I've experienced it, Man, bruh. So that's where I'm from. And I put Tim D here because Tim Duncan is from St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands. You don't really hear a bunch of people making it out of the Virgin Islands in a positive light. One of the biggest people to come from the Virgin Islands was Tim Duncan. And, he played for the Spurs, a very credible person. Look him up if you don't know him, but most people know Tim Duncan. Yeah, he from St. Croix. We from the same place. And besides that, I think Rock City, they doing their thing too. Two brothers, but they from St. Thomas. They from a different island, but they doing their thing too. They really took things to another level. And everybody on the come up, maybe I don't know you, attack, but maybe you doing great things. And I from there too, so we all doing great things. So let's keep it up. So my why did I want to move from St. Croix? Why didn't I want to be in St. Croix anymore? Right. I appreciate my family, everything they did for me, everything that I was exposed to. I'm truly grateful that I came from where I came from. That will never change. But I say my why comes from my exposure. I used to go to my cousin's house and I used to see how my cousin lived. I used to go to my grandma's house and I used to see how my grandma lived. And I always had to come back home and see how I live and see how my parents thought, like their thought process. You see how my sisters thought, see even how I think about life, and just certain things didn't really make sense to me. And I think the most thing that stood out to me was like TV. Like anytime I watch TV, like we had commercials about like Taco Bell and about a bunch of food places that wasn't even on the island. And then like so a lot of stuff didn't make sense to me. Like why are my cousin and them living like this? Why my grandma living like this? And why we live like this? Why do I see these things on TV that I don't see when we go out and we drive and stuff like that? So I just had a lot of questions and a lot of stuff didn't make sense. So that's why I say exposure, and I wanted to be exposed to much more because I knew this wasn't it. Clearly, because I'm seeing my grandma, I'm seeing my cousins, I'm seeing TV, and I look around my house and I'm just like, I know this is not it. There has to be more. So part of my big reasons for wanting to, you know, leave St. Croix was to be exposed to more. What else is out there? I love experiencing change. I love experiencing growth. It's just always been in me since I was a kid. So that's my why. I always wanted to experience more. You could say that. Man. And then America. So I moved to America when I was 13 years old, a kid, super sad, cried like a baby when I left, bruh. I was just like super excited to leave the whole time. And then when it was time to go, I cried the whole plane flight, everything, bruh. So I came up, I started middle school in America, got introduced to girls. I was already introduced to girls in San Croix, don't get it twisted, you feel me? But the older females was on me, you know what I'm saying? I was just a youngin', and all the grown bitches wanted me, you know what I'm saying? Oh God, but I don't know what it is, man. I just had it like that. You feel me? But yeah, and then when I came to middle school up here, it was just crazy because my accent was so strong that I just wouldn't talk. I wouldn't talk at all in school. You see, so I'm able to flex my accent now. If I want to speak in my accent, I can. You check, but it's really a choice. I'm big up to everybody back home. You check. I love my people, and the funny thing about it is like living in St. Croix, anytime somebody came from the States and they came back to visit St. Croix, anytime they spoke properly, like anytime they speak like an American, we used to make fun of them. And I always used to tell myself, if I ever move to America, I ain't gonna never lose my accent. But it's okay because you check, I'm just a growth mindset type of person, so I could flex my accent if I want. I could speak in my accent. Ain't no disrespect to my island and my people back home. You check because you just I don't know. I just like learning. I like growing. I like taking things to a new level. I could see myself speaking a bunch of other different languages as I keep growing because that's just me. So man, it was just interesting, man. 'Cause, yeah, my accent was really strong when I came to America, and like I just didn't know how to really move around people, and so just everybody was just so different. I was already just in my shell in St. Croix as is, but when I moved to America, even more because I was just like it's like a whole different planet. So moved to America, uh, tried out for the basketball team, didn't make it. I saw billboards for the first time. Actually, I meant to say that first. That's why I put a number one here because when I got off the plane when I got off the plane and when I landed in the States in America, that was my first time seeing an actual billboard, like a big billboard. Like I only used to see them on TV, and then the highways had like 7 lanes each on each side. Like everything was just bigger. The airport, I'm just like, what? Like, bruh, I ain't never seen a billboard in my life. Like, I ain't never even seen a garage till I came to America. A garage. And then even carpet, like, bruh, I saw carpet. I was just like, bruh, the ground is soft, and never seen. Well, I seen carpet one time in St. Croix, but my father used to like spray, like, he used to do exterminator. And then, like, he used to spray the nice big houses on the east side of St. Croix. He used to take me sometimes, and one time it was a little family over there, and they had carpet, and it was really nice. So anytime when I came to America, that's the first people I used to think about was when my dad used to take me over there, and I used to see those houses. But yeah, I got used to carpet in America. I got used to a garage and stuff like that. It's crazy. But yeah, so St. Croix, America, and once again, I'm sharing this with y'all just as a recap to let y'all know how I went from overthinking to overcoming. Over here, I'm still overthinking. I don't know how to make sense out of life. A lot of us are going through that right now. Your life may not be making sense to you, but I promise it's all for a good reason. And you just need to analyze your life and find out the things that you're good at, find out the things that you're not so good at, find out the things that interest you, find out the things that don't interest you, and just focus in on it. Look at it for what it is. Realize how it makes you feel. Just take notes on yourself and then make the make the right adjustments. Adjust, operate accordingly. That's my slogan. I used to say that when I was doing music. Operate accordingly was like my jingle. McDonald's, bada ba bam bam, loving it. It was sending and vibing. Operate accordingly at all times. Just investigate yourself. So that's what happened when I moved to America at 13. Now high school. I got MVP. I didn't know how. This was a very interesting story because I played for the basketball team. I didn't make it when I was in middle school, but when I tried out again in high school, I made the basketball team, and I barely played. Like, came off the bench, barely played, you know, barely got minutes. Like, got a few steals, played really good defense, blew a layup on a fast break, crazy in the game, bro, crazy, wide open, got the steal, wide open court, all by myself, lay, and I really missed it, bro. The crowd was like, "Ooh, how he missed that? He wide open." Overthinking, overthinking the whole time, just all overthinking in my head. I was the type of person in school, stand up, lip trembling. Lunchtime, I'm by myself. I'm just not kicking it with nobody. I'm trying to hide in the library. I'm trying to not even go to lunch, bro. Like, super, just all in my head. And then, oh wait, let me finish with the MVP story before I go to the Zaza. So with the MVP story, is very interesting because I played for the basketball team. We played like, I think, 16 or 18 games. Only won like one game or two games. So when it was time for the banquet, I never been to a banquet before. I never been to no award ceremony. For people who don't know who a banquet is, it's pretty much what you go to after the season's over, after you play a sport, so they can, it's like an award show. They give you awards, say who did this, who was the defensive player, the this player, the that player, all that. And this is where they list out the MVP too. So I said, I'm not going because I have no business going. I played a few games, but I barely got minutes. There was times where I never played the whole game. I just sat on the bench the whole game. Sneakers was looking fresh at the end of the season. Oh God, those scuffs. Oh man, that's so embarrassing. But honestly though, I didn't go to the banquet because I had no business being there. I felt like, bruh, yeah, that's my team and everything, but bruh, like, I just had no business going. I wasn't gonna win anything. So the next day I got on the bus, and one of the seniors who was on the basketball team, I was on the freshman team, he was on the senior team, and he was just like kind of mad at me. He was just like, "Why didn't you come to the banquet?" And I was just like, "Bro, I have no business being there. Like, what's the point of me being there?" And plus, I didn't even know what a banquet is. Like, bro, what? And then he was just like, "You won MVP," and I was just like, "For real?" He was just like, "Yeah, like coach wasn't too happy that you didn't show up." I was just like, I did not believe him. I was just like, bro, that's the worst thing you can do to somebody who barely played, who didn't even want to go to the banquet, and then I'm gonna see you early a.m. the next day I come to school, and you gonna throw this in my face and tell me I won MVP, bro. That's like kicking me while I'm already down. Like, I don't want to hear that. There's no way I won MVP. And I didn't believe him the whole way, and he was just mad. He put his headphones back in, and he just sat there in the bus and just kept doing his thing. I'm just like, what? So I went to school, and then he was just like, before we got off the bus, he was just like, make sure you go to the gym as soon as you get here. As soon as you get off the bus, just go straight to the gym. I was just like, wait, is he being serious now? It really hit me. So walked in the gym, and then sure enough, it was a big trophy, like half my size, bruh. And coach was just like, come in here. And I just sat down. He's just like, why didn't you show up to the banquet? And then they just went in and in and in. But moral of the story is, I asked him, why did I win MVP and I barely played? Like, what's the point of me winning MVP and I barely played? I barely did anything for the team. And then he was just like, your attitude, you always had a good attitude. You always had a positive attitude. And I really admire that. Anytime we lost, anytime the team was down, you was never down. You was always uplifting, making sure everybody in the locker room was good, telling everybody we got this. You barely played, but you acted like you had the most minutes. Like, you just always had a good attitude. And I just thought that was a good character of you. And I was just like, for real, bro, that's crazy. Like, that's wild, but I'll take that trophy though. You feel me? So I wanted to walk around with it at school the whole day, but he was just like, nah, I'm gonna leave it in here. You come get it at the end of school. So you best believe as soon as that bell rang at the last period, bro, I went down there, grabbed my trophy, got on the bus. Everybody like, what, Tracy? I was like, yeah, you feel me? It took a lot of work. Oh god, man. But that's the MVP story. Still overthinking. As you can see, I was overthinking, did not go to the banquet. And then I got introduced to the Zaza. All this is relatable. Music, Zaza, and college. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But the Zaza, I got introduced to the Zaza. For those of you who don't know what it is, go look it up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to be doing that on my YouTube channel. Keep it professional as possible. But yeah, I got introduced to this, and I started chiefing, bro. And my life, my perspective changed. Like, I was overthinking before the Zaza. Imagine what I was thinking after, you know what I'm saying? Like, crazy. But yeah, it just changed my life. It changed my perspective on a lot of things. And honestly, yeah, that's just a crazy time in my life. And then the music, I started making music. I started rapping, where I'm from and everything like that. Just trying to put my people on this and this and that. I said, I'm going to be a rapper. I ain't going to college. I got a scholarship for a college, but I didn't even play basketball the rest of my years in high school. So it wasn't a scholarship for basketball. I forgot what the scholarship was for, but it was like maybe 30, 40,000 to like a small college on the east side or something like that. But it was still a great experience. I just knew that I was not going to go to college, and I had a choice to go with the music, go to college, or go to the army. But that's what my guardian that I was living with told me at that time. But in my head, my only option was the music. They gave me three options. I had one option internally. So I went with the music. Here, I'll finish up. So that's it, family. Overthinking. We got done with overthinking, right? Here's where we started overcoming, family. So I started overcoming right here in my early 20s. I was still doing the music, still trying to make it with the music because, like I said, I didn't go to college. And I was just having fun, going out to parties, meeting people. I started working a job. I quit the job as soon as I started working. I couldn't keep a job for like more than 6 months, more than a year. Absolutely not. Because I just wanted to make it with the music so bad. But the more I studied the music, the less I wanted to be in it because I just realized how evil the industry was, and I just knew I couldn't flourish there, man, for real. So music, work, having fun, and then I met my girlfriend, and then that's pretty much it. I started overcoming because things just started slowly shifting in my life. It wasn't about school anymore. And then my late 20s, this is where I really started locking in. I started focusing, man. I started working on my credit. I started like realizing like what is my purpose? If I'm not gonna make it in the music, what am I gonna make it, and what do I really care about? Stuff like that. So I just started realizing like what's more important to me, what are stuff that interests me. The same things I be telling y'all, like investigate yourself, find out what matters the most to you and find out what you don't care about, because that's the best way that you can find out what your quote unquote purpose is. You can have more than one purpose, but just explore thyself, get to know yourself. So yeah, I started focusing on my purpose and abundance. That's how Tracy Willie Pure Abundance came about in my late 20s. Already made a video on all of that. Make sure y'all go check it out. And then finally, right here, number 6 is realization. This is where my heart just started being a lot more forgiving. I just thought back to my mom, my dad, and I can say that they did their best. And some of us be thinking that we wished our parents were rich and we wish they taught us this and they taught us that. But, bruh, that's they did the best they could, and it's your responsibility to find out where you at in life so you can take the right actions for where you at right now. It's nobody's fault. It's your fault. You need to change the way you think. They did their best. So change the way you think about life, and your life will change 100%. Just watched the video on that today. Shout out to Neuro Knowledge. Change the way you look at life, and then life will look at you differently. It's just really that simple. But a lot of us tend to forget that. And then growth. I started growing. Actually got that on my face. Growth mindset in my late 20s as well. And yeah, I just started growing. I fell in love with growth, and that's what I realized that I always cared about. Everything started clicking in my head as I grew. And then kids, I have kids now. I got 2 kids. I got a boy, he's 3, Mastery, and I got a girl, Majesty, she's 1. And it's like literally watching yourself grow. Specifically, my boy is just like seeing a little Tracy grow all over again. So if you a dad, like, I know it may not be easy, or hold on, remember, it goes back to change the way how we look at things. So it may seem like it's not easy, right? But your kids are a gift. You know, it's an opportunity in life to teach them everything that you know, everything that you would like them to make them aware of. It's a perfect opportunity for that. So I love being a dad because I like teaching them. I feel like the stage they at right now is it's interesting because they're so small, but as they grow and able to have more conversations with them, I think that's where it's going to become even more interesting. So it just gets more and more interesting having kids, you know. So that's about it, man. So we started overcoming over here, started locking in over here. And the point of this video, the reason why I wanted to share my story is because I know a lot of us can relate to it. A lot of us grew up in predicaments that I grew up in, and a lot of us maybe today in your early 20s or late 20s and you still don't feel like you're, you know, passionate about anything, or you still may be in the hood for all I know. I don't know where you at. You feel me? But if you're watching this video, I'm just here to let you know, bro, you are not alone. You are not stuck. You know, if I can do it, you can do it. If they can do it, we can all do it. It's nothing but a mindset shift. You know, I remember being in predicaments where, like I said, it just didn't make sense to me, but I know internally I was somewhere else, you know, and then you make it out of there. I made it out of St. Croix, and then I go into high school and I think everything is going suave, and then I end up in a 1 bedroom apartment, you know, with my girl thinking about having kids, and we in a 1 bedroom apartment. That don't make sense. We don't even have a car. You know, I don't even have a stable job. How am I going to get out of this situation? So I had to shift internally and go to a place where I was feeling abundant on the inside, where I didn't let my outside situation affect me internally, and I had to rise above my external situation and just come in here like I always did. You feel me? Because when I was in St. Croix, I knew I was abundant internally. My outside reflection, I wasn't gonna accept that. You know, though I saw drug addicts on the street, or I saw people toting pistols and just dealing with drugs and all types of stuff, I didn't see myself doing that. You know, even though that's what I would be forced to look up to and become, I did not see myself becoming that. I just rose above it. So if I knew I could do that at a young age and barely being conscious, then imagine what I could do right now, you know, after I've gained all my experience and I knew that I did it at a young age. So it's the same thing getting out of that 1 bedroom apartment and rising above that circumstance. So again, if I can do it, you can do it. If they can do it, we can all do it. So salute to you. Congrats in advance and keep up the great work. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Easy.